This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome to the Advise-On overview video, where you'll learn all the basic steps that you'll need to use Advise-On to help better run your practice, the reporting, and the CRM as well. What we're looking at now is our dashboard. When you very first log in, this is a good one-stop shop for all the things that you're going to need to see your practice at a very high level, your firm asset allocation, AUM, performance over time. This is all customizable. The top right, with the Edit Dashboard button, you can pick and choose what widgets you're currently using, as well as any other widgets that you're not currently using, but you could if you want to, as well as the default look of what advisors are you looking at. If you have a multi-advisor practice, you can either look at all of the advisors in total, or you can look at individual advisors from there. In the top left, we have the home button. It will take you back to your designated home page. You also have the app menu where you can look at the most commonly used applications and hit the home button to get back as well. Then on the left, we have the All Apps page as well. Each of these different blue tiles represents a different application that we have on the platform. The universal search allows you to start to type in the name of a client, security, an account, really search through the entire system to find what you're looking for more quickly. In the top right, we have a couple different options such as our reports button. And this is where you can run reports on the fly. So you hit this reports button, which should be available to you on nearly any place in the software, whether you're in documents, in a client, or just here at the home page. You can pick from the left one of our available default reports or your custom reports underneath the saved report template section. The target is where you'll search for either a household, an account, some combination thereof. So I've selected the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. You'd pick your time frame, whether you want to have the accounts aggregated together or segregated out or both. And then you can also check or uncheck the boxes if you want to do a combination. Like let's say you only want to do 10 of the 12 accounts. You can choose which ones you'd like to do for the report as it is appropriate, as well as choosing whether you're doing a time weighted or internal rate of return, net or gross of fees, any display options, closures, and so on. We also have our firm-wide reports. Practice reports, this is all of your practice-wide reporting options. All of your AUM, trade activities, all your RMD calculations, inflows and outflows at the firm level. For compliance, you have the ability to export out your interaction, so any activities, notes, emails. You can pull up all of the holdings that are held across the various accounts, or you can specify up to 10 different securities and have all of the accounts that do hold those securities pulled up as of a particular time frame. For performance, you can see all the performance across the accounts. You can export out any positions that you might have. This is really good if you're looking to upload something into Rebalancer, for example. Data diagnostic reports are for anomalies. So if you have anything that is unclassified in terms of its asset class, if it came through, was not assigned to maybe like large cap or mid cap, you can get a list of anything that is unclassified so you know what you need to go then and classify. Any missing cost basis, or if there's an abnormal return. So you can set your bands of upper and lower performance, your time frames. It'll show you any accounts that have had performance outside of those bands within the time period you specify. For the SEC, with the 13F, the Form ADV, Schedule D asset. Next to that, we also have the plus button here, which allows you to create things on the fly. So you can go to a client, you can go to a contact, you can hit note, or you can just create them on the fly here and then relate it to them after the fact. So click on note, you can start to document the conversation that you had in a client meeting, what have you, and then relate it to the particular household. You can also do that while you're in the client, which we'll get to in just a moment. Next to that, we have notifications, which if we click on there, will take us to any current notifications that we have in the system. You might also notice that there's a number next to it. If you click on that, you can mark these as read or delete your various alerts, and then that number will be reduced, so that way you can keep on the fly how many alerts that you have that are still unread. We also added in the ability to look at your calendar on the fly, whether that's looking at it day to day or looking at more of a task list style of view. You can choose how you'd like to have that presented to you. More option, it allows you to, at all times, look at what you might have going on and what's coming up. And then next to that, we have the settings gear. This is all of your general settings that you have within Advizon. If you want to sync in your email, if you want to change the views in your clients list, your accounts list, and so on. If you want to add any disclosures, customize the reports as far as adding in logos or changing the general styling. Then also your own default settings. So what benchmarks are applied by default, what are your calculation settings by default, models that you're comparing your clients to, and so on. Set all of that universally. Then in the bottom right, you might notice this chat icon here. If I click on that, that allows me to first register. Once you've registered, you're able to chat with our team. So if you have a more on-the-fly question of how you do a particular thing, you're able to reach out to our team directly and you'll get a response, generally speaking, within a few minutes, if not sooner. But more importantly than that, in the top right, we also have our knowledge base, which is accessible either through drop down here, but also from the All Apps page. Head back there for just a moment. See the support icon that we have located here. This is a really good resource for a new advisor or a new practice to really get to know our system. We have all kinds of step-by-step guides, video guides, helpful PDFs that you can use to learn how to do a particular item, whether that's searching within the search box here or clicking on a general category and seeing what's available to you. For example, if we click on clients, all kinds of helpful step-by-step guides to do whatever you might need to do. So how do I merge multiple clients together to get them in a household, for example? An important first step is differentiating what's meant when we talk about clients, accounts, contacts, prospects. In Advizon, clients and prospects are both households. These are groupings. So you might have John Doe and Jane Doe within the Doe household. So clients, that would be the Doe household. And then within that, there are contacts. These are the individuals themselves. So you have John Doe, the contact, Jane Doe, the contact, inside of the Doe household client. And then accounts would refer to their SEP, their taxable account, their Roth, whatever it might be that are inside that household linked to them. Let's take a look at the clients list. Clicking on clients is going to take you to a list of any currently active clients that you might have. And from here, you can create new clients. You can click into existing clients. You also can take actions such as merging clients together, splitting them apart, and so on by checking the box next to clients and using the more drop down to look at what actions you can do. So if I go ahead and on the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge here, it brings me up to their client profile, where you can see everything in a one-stop shop for this particular household. Under their overview, they have a lot of these more general statistics of what is in the household in terms of different members, what are their performance, any recent actions, account list. And something to note is that this is all very modular, meaning if I click and drag, I can rearrange this however I'd like. You can also remove things by hitting the three dots here and hitting remove. And then if you'd ever like to make any edits, three dots, and either take it back to its original default if you've made some changes you'd like to reset, or you can hit add widgets, see what available options we have for you versus what's currently being used. And this is specific to your login. So if you as an advisor are looking to change something to specifically focus on what you like to do, you can make those changes and it won't affect any other advisors on the team. They can all customize their own as well. The profile is more focused on the individuals within the household. Any tags you might have applied to them, who are the members, tax information, you can edit by using the pen and paper More legally focused are the contracts and dates where you can see your living wills, power of attorneys, you delivered your ADV, etc. We also have the risk profile, which we can fill out with a questionnaire, answer the various questions with the client, and it will recommend where they fall on the risk spectrum. You can also manually dictate that yourself. If they're a member of any groups, they would be listed here. Then detailed info is more of a catch-all field. This is where something might not neatly fit into one specific predefined category, and you can enter it into here, as well as in the memo section, which is always present in the top right when you're in a household. So it's nice to keep readily available information, for instance, if they prefer to have phone calls instead of emails, or something like that that someone needs to know as soon as they click in. And then the other things, perhaps they have a child that likes art or is in a sport, something you might want to make note of, you can put it in the detailed info. Investments is more geared towards the various accounts that they might have with you. You have full account list here. Asset allocation as compared to whatever target you've applied. The holdings versus the model if you have compared them to a model. And then financial details is more geared towards the non-account assets. Any future income, expenses, liabilities, maybe the mortgage on the home, other assets, so on. And then touch points is really your communications with the client. So you can look at any notes, calendar activities, email correspondence, alerts. If you've run any reports for your client and saved them, they'll be located for the Documents app, as well as being able to upload them yourself. Client portal will see what currently active web portals they might have for the client. It might not be there set up just yet for when you very first come on board, but you can also set them up here by hitting new. Letting you know, are you having notifications being sent out? In this case, we do not have them turned on, but that's okay. You can still set someone up. So you pick what member of the household. It will bring up their specific information. You give them a password, hit save, and they can now log in to their client portal. Speaking of, if you'd like to preview what the web portal would look like for a client, in the top right, this little globe icon, Preview Client Web Portal, click on that, you'll see verbatim what they would show whenever they log in. So if they call you up on the phone, that's a really good way to say, oh, I'm looking at this, this, and this on the web portal. Okay, well, go ahead and pull up their client, hit the preview button, and here we're now looking at the same thing. You can also hit the pen and paper to the right, edit their information, as well as when you had on the overview, the profile section as well, another place to be able to edit or add any info that you might want to add. In Workspace for any ongoing workflows or projects that you might have for that house. While in a household, to change who the head of household is or to add other members, in the membership area, you can hit the three dots here, change head, or edit the relationship between the members. For example, you can change someone from a spouse, maybe a different relationship, or if they're a non-familial connection, have them connection where they're attorney, business partner, what have you. We have a lot of options there as well. Whenever you'd like to mass update a particular thing about your households, whether you're applying new billing settings, benchmarks, what have you, you can check the box next to as many as you'd like, hit mass update, and then select a particular field that you'd like to mass update for those clients that you've specified. And this is available to you on the clients, accounts, and contacts list, which all function very similar in that regard. Speaking of, let's head on over to the accounts. Click on accounts here. All of this is going to function very, very similarly to what we just saw on the clients page. Just now, instead of household by household, we're looking at account by account. All of your currently active accounts will be listed here. Similarly, you can move them between a transactional and a positional account, add them to a group. You can also activate and deactivate them by clicking the icon here. You can edit their profile, account name, account number, They start coming on board with you. Are they active or is it a closed account? And so on. If we click into one of these, you'll notice that the look and the feel is very, very similar. It's just some of the data points have changed. So instead of looking at the household investment assets, we're looking at the individual holdings of the account, the transactions, alerts, the documents they might have, that are being compared to a model, gain loss statistics, so on. Just like on the client, if you hit the pen and paper in the top right, where you hit the gear, you can edit the information or edit their specific settings. For example, what is their billing setting? What benchmarks are they using? What models are they being compared against? All of that. This all functions very, very similarly for contacts and prospects as well. Prospects being nearly identical to clients, it's just they haven't signed on the dotted line with you just yet. They might not have assets in the system, but you can still create a web portal for them if you want to share documents. You can still go ahead and upload any notes or documents you might have, as well as running reports if you do happen to have assets that you have manually added yourself. Contacts are the individuals themselves. So if we go ahead and click on William here, we're looking at him as an individual. What households does he get part of? What accounts are tied to him? Any notes, documents, so on, as well as if paper here, all of his respective contact information, whether that be social, what is his role, any tags you might have applied, relationship to other members, and other general information might be helpful for your CRM. And while you might merge clients together to household them into one household, you'd only ever merge contacts together if they are exact identical. So if I have two John Does, you'd like to consolidate them into one. We also have prospects, which allow you to move them through that prospecting workflows that you might have set up for them, as well as keep track of any documentation. So let's go ahead and click on George Costanza here. And in addition to having all the same options we saw at the household level, we have the pen and paper in the top right. You can see what prospect stage are they currently at, and what's the next step to keep it moving along. And beyond that, billing center is where you can get into your billing, which we'll touch on a different video, as well as on the support page. This is where you'll take care of all of your billing needs. Reporting center, we'll also have a separate video on, as well as step-by-step guides. This is where we can do reporting in mass. Groups are any groups that might not work for a particular client household, but still need to be put together. So for example, maybe you have parents, their adult children, or if you have a set of 401ks, maybe a mailing list. All of these separate groupings, while still valuable, might not necessarily work as one cohesive household. You can create groups of households, groups of accounts, as would be the case in maybe the 401k plan, for example, or contact groups which you can use for mailers or general email blasts and so on, as well as birthdays. Deposits are where we can do GIPS compliant performance reporting. This is if you'd like to become GIPS verified and use that to run SMAs or anything like that, which you can find a lot of great information on our support page. We also have all the RMD calculations. So once you go into here, you would hit in the top left RMD data generation. You specify what kinds of accounts, as well as what time frame. You can hit generate data now, and it usually takes just a couple minutes, but you'll see all these various accounts that are qualified accounts that are in the correct date range for the owner, old enough to start taking RMDs. If for some reason you run this and you know someone that should be on this list that isn't, a couple key things to check. Make sure that their contact has a date of birth entered in and that it's accurate. Make sure that the account itself is the right account type. Sometimes they can come in as just regular taxable when they might be an IRA. And then go ahead and rerun that information. As well as if they are a beneficiary or inherited IRA, make sure that they have the previous owner's birth date and death date in there. You can also set the defaults for the various pages that you'd like whenever you hit the home button. So if, like in this case, we're going to be navigating back and forth in the All Apps page, we can go ahead and set that to be All Apps as opposed to the dashboard. You have the calendar. So if you do happen to sync in your Google G Suite, Office 365 calendar, that can be shown here. You can also choose what other advisors within your practice or assistants or whoever it might be that you're also going to look at, very similar to how you can in Outlook. All of your email correspondence, notes at the firm level, so any notes that you've done for any clients, back to your workflows, where you can create a repeatable series of tasks for your various households, accounts, whatever it might be. The first step in this is go to the left side and hit templates, and you'll create a template for that task that you're doing. Let's say that this is maybe client prospecting. You can drag and drop in various stages, decision points, and add steps to each stage. Let's say this is prospecting, stage 1, have initial meeting. Keep adding in various activities, so have initial meeting, then follow up thank you letter, schedule a follow-up meeting. Stage 2, have the meeting, present financial plan. Decision point, do they come on board? If so, great, start to fill out account moving forms as well as giving the ADVs, schedule quarterly meetings, whatever it might be. Or if they don't, add them back to a marketing campaign and so on. And it allows you to, on a more systematic basis, keep track of where things are, have kind of a clear view into that, and then also, just as importantly, be able to assign each individual step to different people. So if you have kind of a team-based approach where you might have one person doing one thing and one person doing another, you can assign those out. Then once you've created that template, you can either manually kick it off for someone yourself, or you can use the Automation Center to set up automation so that they happen automatically. If I hit new, you can base it on some action, like when someone's added, removed, a prospect becomes a client, or based on a date. So when a review is coming up, a birth date, and so on, you choose your specific criteria. Go to next. If you have only certain types of people or only certain types of clients, contacts, etc., you can set specific rules. And then you'll choose what workflow you'd like to kick off. That's that template that you just made a moment ago. That way you have the system continually reaching out to you, letting you know, hey, this workflow has just been kicked off. You need to do X, Y, and Z. Our report builder is where we're able to customize any reports that we have to offer in the default canned reports tab in the top right. So all of these are available for you to customize and make changes. And then once you save them, they'll be under the saved report template. A more in-depth guide on Report Builder specifically on our support page. Model portfolios and target asset allocations are both ways that you can compare a client or an account against something. The difference here being when you're comparing target allocation, you're comparing them against 25% large cap, 25% mid cap, 10% small cap, cash, international, other, etc. But it's by category. Whereas model portfolios, you're comparing them to specific funds. So instead of 25% large cap, you might be comparing them to 25% of the SPY ETF, or Apple stock, or cash, or whatever holdings you want for that model. We do have a number of different benchmarks available for you, whether that's indices or ETF proxies, which are all available on our support page. Click on support and click on benchmarks. You can get a full comprehensive list of what we have to offer. You can also mix and match those together so you can create custom blended benchmarks. So instead of using just S&P 500, for example, you could choose to do maybe a 60/40. So go in here, give it a name, description if you'd like, and then we can add in the various holdings. You're going to double click into here. You're going to search for the benchmark you want to use from that approved list. S&P 500. Double click into the weight, give that a 60, and then maybe Barclays Aggregate Bond Index, the 40%. Do make sure that you have 100%, otherwise the total weight won't be right and you will not be able to save. Once you've hit save, then you can apply that out to clients or universally, just as you could any of our defaults. Definition library and firm data management are a little bit more nuanced and where you can customize your asset classes, redefine what a securities asset class is, as well as see the various aspects and details about holdings. If you click on firm data management, this can be really useful in seeing what's held across the board. The very first page that we get here is securities in accounts. So these are all the different securities that are held within your practice, as well as how much of them is held in aggregate and so on. So if I click on one of these, it pulls up the various options that we have as far as how to customize it, what industry it's a part of, what asset class it's a part of. And if you'd like to change that, you can hit Asset Reclassify and then change what the categories are. Ultimately, you have the final say on whatever area that particular holding falls in. If you'd like to see who holds that security, check the box next to it, or hit View Accounts with Security. A Documents app is your general documents repository. These are all the different documents that you would have across the board for all of your clients. So while you might still see it at the client level, you also can see it here in your general documents app. You can save things locally to your own computer. You can also archive them, which allows you to keep it on Advizon, but now it's archived, meaning it is not deletable and is not editable. So for compliance purposes, you can have a reserved copy. You can either manually select things and archive them yourself, or you can hit Archive Rules and choose criteria by which you'd like to have documents archived automatically for you. Client portal, you can see all the currently active web portals that you might have, as well as documentation of what clients have done, have they logged in, what pages they go to, as well as what you or other members of your team might have done. For example, have you created a web portal? Did you upload documents? All that's tracked here. The alerts, which is the little message icon on the top right, can also be accessed by clicking the alerts app from the All Apps page. And then we have firm setup, which is where you can manage your firm as a whole. So that's creating new branches, adding new users, so on. All of that can be handled from here. So if you have another member of your team you'd like to bring on, you fill out their respective information, hit save, and they now can log into Advizon. We do have a number of different types of users. We have the administrator, which can see and do everything across the entirety of the firm. You can see all the clients and all the accounts. We also have standard advisor, which can only see what is assigned to them. So for instance, if you have an advisor who should only see their book of business, you could set them as a standard advisor and then assign them to the respective clients or accounts. Then we also have assistant, which you would then choose who they are the assistant for. And then the assistant can impersonate that advisor, so they can go in the system as if they were them. If you are an administrator, you You can also impersonate any other user by checking the box, hitting impersonate, and then you are in the system as them. And if you ever want to go back to being you, click the icon on the top right, click on your name, you go back to being in your login. This is also actually before we leave, click on rep codes, where you can customize what rep codes are being allocated to what particular individual. So if you go ahead and click on this individual rep code, you can change what advisors are going to be assigned to it, as well as who is the lead advisor on that. And lastly, we have our recycling bin. So if you do delete a client account or contact, it does go here first. And this will not be cleared out unless you manually clear that out. However, if you do delete something from here, it is gone. Just make sure that you know what you're deleting and make sure that you do in fact want that to be deleted. If you accidentally delete something and it comes into the recycling bin, you can always restore it by checking the box and hitting restore. This has been, at a high level overview, Advizon as a platform. If you do have additional questions on a more specific area, I would highly recommend going to our support page and taking a look at that individual app or trying to search for whatever question you might have. There are lots of really great resources, and this should really be your first step in getting more immersed in the program. If additionally, you're still having a little bit of trouble, or if you have a question that you cannot find the answer to, you can use the chat or call your direct relationship manager. They'd be more than happy to help out as well. Thanks. Have a good day.